It's considered one of the longest and most arduous journeys ever undertaken. Every spring, billions of birds take to the skies in seasonal migrations that take them from South and Central America to the boreal forests in northern Canada. Then in the fall, they go back again. This ancient migration cycle is one of the great wonders of the natural world and one of the least understood. That's why the Pelee Island Bird Observatory was first started.
The Bird Observatory was established in 2003 and has quite a broad mandate, but primarily it was established to study the spring and fall migration, and since then has broadened out to study breeding birds. We enjoy doing education programs and sharing what we find with our community.
The Pelee Island Bird Observatory is a member of the Canadian Migration Monitoring Network, an organization of more than 25 bird monitoring stations across the country. The data we collect is sent to the network for analysis and shared with other observatories throughout Canada, the United States, and as far away as Central and South America. We're located on Pelee Island in Lake Erie, the southernmost part of inhabited Canada. The island's location makes it one of the most important stopover sites for migratory birds in North America. Millions of birds visit the island each spring and fall to rest up and feed before continuing on the next leg of their journey. The Pelee Island Bird Observatory keeps track of these visits. How and why we do this is what this video is all about. The day starts early at the Pelee Island Bird Observatory, very early. While most people are still asleep, the observatory staff and volunteers begin their daily routine.
It's about a half hour before sunrise and we're opening up our mist nets for the morning's activities of bird banding. It's something we do every morning, 7 days a week. The nets are a wonderful way of capturing a really nice variety of songbirds, and we always want to make sure they're evenly spaced apart. Bottom loop raised up a little bit, and this is a really nice setup. It's nice, it's not windy. Too much wind is not good for the nets.
Timing is crucial. It's important to have the nets unfurled and ready to go before dawn breaks because that's when the birds are most active. Their morning song tells us they're awake and starting their daily routine, a good time to do the first check of the nets.
Our first bird of the morning, and it's a little common yellowthroat, and it's a very common nester in southern Ontario. You'll usually find them in marshes and swamps. They're a very lively bird, as always, and you'll see with the mist nets that in most cases that they will come out quite readily. Often most birds will come out in about 15 or 20 seconds. With the proper training, it's possible to get all the birds out of the net, and if we do have any trouble with the bird, if it starts to be in greater distress, we'll actually trim the net to take it out. So we'll never let a bird stay too long in the nets. We'll pop them into one of our little cotton bird bags. It's really nice for them because it's nice and dark, nice and lightweight, so they're able to breathe.
When all the nets have been checked, the captured birds are brought to the banding station where the detailed research begins. Birds have captivated us for thousands of years. Their beautiful songs have inspired poets for centuries. Their colorful plumage has motivated artists to capture them on canvas. And their annual migrations have fascinated and baffled us all at the same time. Take this tiny ruby-throated hummingbird as an example. It weighs less than a loonie coin, but it travels from Central and South America to Southern Ontario every spring, then goes back again every fall. At one point, these tiny birds crossed the entire Gulf of Mexico in a single flight, a distance of 800 kilometers. That's like you and me running 20 consecutive marathons without taking a break. But there's something else birds have to offer, a warning. Migratory birds travel thousands of kilometers each year and rely on many different habitats along the way. And because they're sensitive to very small changes in their environment, they serve as a good barometer or early warning system. Just like the canary in the coal mine, any changes in their numbers or their diversity can teach us a great deal about the state of the environment as a whole. And all too often it seems the canary is sounding the alarm.
There's evidence that suggests that many of these still common birds, that their numbers have declined, in some cases more than 50% over the last 20 or 30 years. And if you speak with most bird watchers, they'll tell you that there are fewer birds around. And yet we at the observatory recognize that anecdotal accounts, even if they're unanimous, that they don't enable real change, whether it's policy making and governmental decisions. So we're trying to bring some numbers and some actual science to what is generally understood to be the case.
We study migratory birds because they have a lot to teach us about ourselves and how well we take care of this planet that we all call home. The banding station is where much of the data is collected. Since we first started opening our nets in 2003, the Pelee Island Bird Observatory has captured more than 30,000 birds in our banding program. And we've documented more than 250 species. Each captured bird is fitted with a numbered band that goes around their leg.
They're the nice black and white warbler. We'll get the right size band on her. So size 0 band. Okay. And it's number 81 from net 10 and 9. Open the band up with the pliers. It's the smallest hole on the set of pliers, and then we can a good tight squeeze around the leg. Make sure there's no gaps in there. Looks good. Good fit.
The number on the band is recorded, and details about the bird are sent to Environment Canada's bird banding office in Ottawa. If it's caught again at another banding station or recovered by the public, the band number indicates where and when the bird was originally captured. After they're banded, a series of measurements and observations are taken. The amount of fat on the body is observed by gently blowing on the chest feathers. Fat is what migratory birds use to fuel their lengthy flights. Little or no fat suggests the bird just arrived and needs to build up its energy reserves. A bird with lots of fat has likely been here for a few days and is getting ready to depart on the next leg of its trip. Then a series of measurements and observations are recorded, including the bird's wing length. This often tells us if it's a male or female because most male songbirds are larger than females.
This would be a chestnut-sided warbler and has probably just arrived last night. We can see that it is a male just from looking at the plumage features. There's quite a bit of contrast in the wing between the different aged feathers, and so we can quite comfortably refer to this as a second-year bird. So it's in its second calendar year of life. It would have been hatched last year and then would have molted some feathers in the fall, and now we've encountered him in the spring.
Finally, it's time for the weigh-in. The bird is placed in a small tube on the scale to ensure it doesn't squirm around and throw off the measurement. When the weight is recorded, the bird is released. For an experienced bird researcher, the whole banding process might take no more than 2 to 3 minutes. But the information that's gathered during this short time goes a long way towards helping us understand the mystery that surrounds these ancient migration cycles. And it also helps us understand why we're seeing fewer and fewer birds every year.
On days when there are lots of birds around, it's very easy to know why we're out here. But even on days that are quiet, we remind ourselves that that's important information too.
The daily census is the most important part of the migration monitoring program. Each morning, starting 1 hour after sunrise, staff and volunteers conduct a 90-minute walk along a designated route and record all the birds they see and hear. It requires a quick eye and a keen ear. You need to be able to recognize the various birds along the route, not only by sight, but also by sound.
It's another oriole. It sounds like a rose-breasted grosbeak. So, a few more redwings. Okay. We will always do the census except during lightning storms, effectively. And it really does represent the best snapshot of the overall activity in our count area. And we do have a very clearly delineated count area. It gives us a sort of an overview of activity on the day that the banding alone or our other visual observations aren't able to.
The walk takes observers through 3 distinct ecosystems, each with their own distinct bird life. The first section takes us through some of the last remaining Carolinian forest in Canada. Lots of songbirds concentrate here, especially in May and again from late August to October when there's a steady food supply. Further on, a small wetland hosts a variety of water birds and serves as important shelter for many migrant species. Some are native to the island, but many more are just passing through.
I think a lot of the sparrows have already migrated through the area, except for the white-throats maybe.
And the ducks are.
Yeah, that's true, yeah, compared to even last week.
The census ends with a kilometer-long walk along the shore. This offers good views of migrants flying over the lake and a chance to observe many species along the forest edge.
Kind of down low in the.
The information we gather on these daily walks adds to our understanding of the migratory birds on the island on a day-by-day and week-by-week basis.
It's information that is very consistent. It starts at the same time each day, it ends at the same time, it's the same route and things. So again, the premise is that by being consistent in that way, that over a long time frame, not a year or two, but over a period of say the 10 years which we're coming up to, it is a method of looking at trends in numbers of songbirds. And so that's again, that is occupies a good part of the work we do.
By noon, the banding process and the daily census walk are complete. During the hottest part of the day, the birds rest, but not the staff and volunteers at the Pelee Island Bird Observatory. We need to wrap up our field work by taking down the nets and tying them securely until they're opened again the next morning.
And we have a technique whereby we can actually furl the net into itself, and it will completely seal off any of the openings and will make it impossible for any birds to go into the net. We have a very rigorous system at the end of each morning where we make sure that we have all the nets closed and we do a double check. But it's very good. There's no danger of birds being captured once we've left for the day.
Some days are longer than others, especially when there are lots of birds and lots of visitors. But we always have time to catch up on the latest bird news when other bird lovers drop in. Education is a key part of the observatory's mission. In addition to our outdoor programs, PIBO staff and volunteers also give presentations every autumn at local schools. And sometimes the classroom comes to us. We often host field trips where students come by and watch as we catch, measure, band, and release birds. Explaining what we do and why we do it is an important part of the experience. Learning about birds at an early age fosters an appreciation and respect for them later in life. Encouraging this fascination is part of our commitment.
The way we can tell it's a Swainson's thrush, the best way is this really nice eye, what we call an eye ring. And we even refer to it as like spectacles, that it almost looks like he's wearing glasses a little bit.
The reward for doing this is seeing the looks on students' faces when we take a new bird out of the bag for the first time. After the fieldwork is complete, we head back to the office where the day's data is inputted into the computer and sent to the Canadian Migration Monitoring Network for analysis. We also keep a detailed written log of all our visual sightings and banding records for each day we're in the field. During a typical season, we'll spend 2,000 to 2,500 hours counting and banding birds. It's a big commitment, but it's vital in order to better understand our bird buddies, our planet, and ourselves.